We bring to you Texas Rangers manager Bruce Bochy. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How's it going?
We're doing okay. We're doing okay. I know you said something about it last night, but in case anybody missed it, we've been obviously talking a whole lot about Willie Mays. I was hoping you could give our listeners some insight into just how great he was and what he meant specifically to you.
Yeah, well, as I said last night, being in this game allows you to meet some really special people. And then this guy, Ted Williams, he had a great line. He said the All-Star game was made up for Willie Mays. This guy could be the greatest player of all time. But, for me to have 13 years with him, pretty much every day, too. I'm talking about spring training. During the season, he had a little office by my office. And just loved talking to the man. I still remember the first day I went up to San Francisco to manage. He brought me a dozen baseballs, and he said, "Look, take these. I'm sure you have some friends that may want some of these, and I know you're not going to want to bother me, and I'll bring you more. But this will start you out." So this, I was just stunned by that move. And but to have him around just talking baseball, we had a Hall of Fame spring training meeting every year with he and Orlando Cepeda, Gaylord Perry, and Willie McCovey. But he would dominate the conversation, and he was so good, as far as helping the players. Just about playing the game, and even spring training. He'd get on the guys that would come out after 3-4 innings. He'd go, "Man, these people came out to see you play. You stay out there and play for them." That's just who he was. And so sad day yesterday, but what a great life he had. And, he's going down as one of the greatest players of all time.
Well, Boch, in the off season, I read his book that recently came out, 24, and he had a great relationship with Leo DeRocher, his manager for a long time. And at one point, he didn't want to play in a spring training game, but Leo knew that all these people came out to see you, Willie, and so he made a deal with Willie. He's like, "Look, if you hit a home run, I'll take you out of the game." He's like, "Okay, deal." And then went out and hit a home run in the first inning. He's like, "Am I good? Can I have the rest of the day off?" He's like, "Hey, can you just give me 3 or 4 more innings? Because I'm going to get it. I'm going to just deal with it if you don't play at least, 4 or 5 innings today." And so have you ever made a deal with a player in spring training? I know spring training is very different now of can you just give me this today? Or maybe during a regular season game, like the way Leo had to do with Willie one day.
Oh, yeah, I've done that a few times, trade-offs. We used to, back when we were in Yuma, we'd have to go to Tucson and Phoenix to play. So we had guys, they would come up with a tight hamstring or whatever. So before I'd hear that, I'd say, "Listen, I got to split this up. Just give me this day here, and we'll take this day, whatever." And you can't really give them a choice because you're really supposed to have 4 regulars out there, and and I tried to honor that, and I'll tell you why. Because I went to high school in Florida, and I would go to spring training games, hoping like guys were playing. Well, back then, chances are they were playing, and they played more than what they do today as far as the length of the game. So it meant a lot to me, when they played, and I would tell the players about, my time as a kid and what it means to these fans. And so, I think if you explain it, they don't come up with these little nagging injuries. Now, I will tell you a quick story about Tony Gwynn. And Tony, he had a bad knee that he would have to, ice it all the time. But Tony would never skip a trip to Tucson. I said, "Tony, I need you staying back. We'll get you covered with some other regulars." He goes, No. I know there's some kids. We only go there twice. They're just hoping that I come and play, and I'm going." He would go every trip. Now, when Tony would go, I wouldn't have to have 4 regulars. That's all they cared about. Tony made that trip, so it kept the other guys back. But I would tell him, trust me, I'd stay back, but he would insist on going, and he did every trip.
Boch, when I was a kid, when I was in elementary school, every time we got a chance to go to the library, I would always get Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle's books. Those were the ones that I wanted to read. I wanted to be attached to. I wanted to know more about them. I was always kind of curious from your perspective when you were growing up and watching the game. Who were the players that you were fascinated by and wanted to know more about?
Well, Ted Williams was really my guy, I guess. Later on, Johnny Bench, because I was a catcher, but I was just fascinated by this man, and I had a chance to spend quite a bit of time with him back when I was in San Diego, because he was born there, and our owner, John Moores, brought him back to San Diego to have him part of the club, and so he came back quite a few times, and we had similar passions. Fishing, for example. I mean, he just drilled me on fishing too, fly fishing, about tying flies. I mean, he was so far ahead of me on that fishing. I was just using a conventional rod, but he loved to talk about it. Managing, he managed. When I lived outside of D.C., he was managing the Senators before they came here to Texas. So, but just his life, this guy was, he was in 2 wars. Just incredible career. As a fighter pilot, and what he did on the field. So his bats, his books is My Turn at Bat and The Science of Hitting. I can't tell you how many times I've read him as a kid. And so he was the guy I really tried to find out more and more about.
How much better have you gotten at fishing since then to try to catch up to that?
Well, I will say I did get into fly fishing, so for a while there. So I did take that up, and my deal was I had to catch a tarpon on the fly and a snook, and that's what he would talk about. If you ever catch a snook on a fly, then you'll have the greatest experience you've ever had. And so I did do that.
So, Boch, obviously, my dad played in the major leagues. I care a lot about baseball history and got to know a lot of his teammates and his friends. And I remember Mike Hargrove being one of the first managers I got to meet in Cleveland, and he talked about how important it was for us players to know about the history of the game. Do you feel like today that it's important to the players today? I know everybody's an individual to know about the history of the game.
Yeah, it does really shock me sometimes that some players that, the younger players don't know, that some are really into it. Josh Young, oh my goodness, he's between the cards he collects and, his knowledge of, the history of the game. And a lot of these guys, Marcus, trust me, they know so much about the history of the game, but there's some guys that, that's just not their deal. And, but I'm stunned when, for example, I had a coach, Alan Trammell, and we had a couple of young guys that didn't know who Alan Trammell was. I said, "Are you kidding me?" So I'd make them, go home and study up on them and tell me more about them. And it's, some guys, have a huge interest in it. Some just play the game and they're good with that.
Now, okay, might I make a suggestion? Team bonding experience, baseball trivia night. Me, Mike, and Kevin will put it together for you. We'll take care of it, and we'll find out who the guy is that knows the most about baseball history.
Yeah. Just put that together.
All right, deal.
All right. I'm in on this. Now, in terms of the team, and this could be about last night, this could be about the season as a whole, it definitely feels like there has been a defensive dip from last year. Do you think that is a fair assessment? And if so, what's led to this?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part. It broke up on me.
Do you think that there has been a defensive dip in this Rangers team compared to last year? And if that's the case, why do you suppose that is?
A defensive what?
Dip, like a drop.
Oh, defensive? No, you know what? Last night, you can look at that game, but I think overall, I think our defense has been pretty good. I do. You look at, what Jonah's doing behind the plate. I know he's not having the offensive year that he had last year, but defensively, those numbers are pretty good. But I think you look at what Smitty's done defensively. Marcus has just played incredible second base. I just think he's moving better than ever. Some of the plays he's making. I think Nate won the Gold Glove. He's not quite having the year he had last year defensively, but I think overall we haven't been too sloppy. Yeah, we've had our games, but for the most part, it's been pretty good. Our biggest issue is just getting the runs that we got last year.
Well, and one of the runs that came last night was Wyatt Langford's first over the fence home run. Was that like feeling like that was coming along pretty soon? And when it did it feel like it kind of cracked something open for him?
Yeah, you could see with the swings he's been taking in the games, he's really getting off some good aggressive swings. So no, it's just a matter of time, and I'm sure it's still that had to be huge for him to get that, to get that off his mind, because it's been talking about it a little bit, but he's going to hit his home runs, and so it's just case of him just swinging the way he is. I don't want him to try to hit home runs, but just get good swings off, and they're going to come. It's hard enough to hit major league pitching, but to try to hit home runs, that's such a tough deal, and I think it's even more difficult in today's game than ever.
Well, Boch, I know you get a lot of questions about the injuries. I'm just going to ask about these two guys because, honestly, when you do the thing in the dugout, I can't hear you because of the music, so then I have to ask other people what you said. But when it comes to Josh Young, I know he's close, and then what I haven't heard in the last few days is an update possibly on Evan Carter's back.
Yeah, Evan is still not doing a whole lot as far as baseball activities. We have to slow play him. So he's a little ways away. Josh Young played last night. Be honest, he's a little rusty. He's not, it's going to take some at bats for him. I can't tell you how many. We'll see how he does this week. He's in Sacramento right now, so and he missed a lot of time. And it's going to take a few at bats to get his timing, and I think last night, showed that. But it's just going to get better and better, with more at bats here.
Well, we appreciate your thoughts on the team, and thank you very much for reminiscing with us as well about Willie Mays. We really appreciate it, sir.
Of course. And, sad day. Man, I'm just grateful, for the time I had with him. I know how lucky I am, trust me, to be with a guy, like Willie Mays, who could go down. He's got to be right at the top as far as greatest players that ever played this game.
Absolutely.
A quick story
Yeah.
I got to tell you, though. I did have Willie with Mays. I did have him chase me, and I told him the story.
What?
When I was young, I skipped school occasionally, and I went down to Vero Beach where the Dodgers spring train. I usually went to Cocoa to watch Astros, but I go down to Vero Beach, and they had a state-of-the-art spring training back then. And they had it was a grass hill knoll with palm trees coming up. They didn't have a fence. And so we would go down there, and we'd hang down the left field line, and when they would pull the ball foul, we'd run down the hill and grab the ball and leave. Willie was out in left field. He was with the Mets at the time. And he said, "Hey, guys," and he started chasing us a little bit. He didn't go far, but, just to scare us off. And then they wouldn't have caught us because there's a golf course and some woods there we can run up to. But that's how we got our baseballs to hit with. So, I said, "Well, I got to tell you a story." He didn't remember it, of course. But I said, "You actually chased me one time down in Vero Beach when we were, sneaking down, stealing some baseballs." He laughed. He said, "Oh, I would have been right there with you." So it's pretty cool that, Willie chased us.
That's awesome. That is amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that story, and we will catch up with you again next week, good sir.
All right, guys. All right, good talking with you. I'll talk to you.